saw the footage 3 weeks after the mission went dark. It started with static, just a cracked hiss overlaid on a black screen. Then a flicker. Just for a heartbeat, I saw Commander Lorne's face, sweat beading down his temple, eyes wide and trembling. He looked straight into the camera, as if begging directly. His lips moved, but the sound cut out. The final image before the video warped into digital snow was of something behind him, just barely visible in the dark. A shape, impossibly tall, glinting with damp metallic skin, reaching out of the tunnels of the wormhole. That footage had never been meant for me, but I needed to know why my sister never came back. They'd called it Echo-7. A scientific marvel, they said. A naturally occurring wormhole hovering at the edge of Saturn's rings, stable, rotating with perfect mathematical elegance. The mission was meant to be a breakthrough. A 5-person research crew tasked with penetrating the event horizon, recording data, then returning in a 1-month loop with the first direct information about interdimensional travel. Of course, no one came back. NASA scrubbed the mission quietly. Publicly, they blamed a fuel miscalculation. But I was there. I'd been one of the engineers monitoring the quantum relay on the secondary observation deck. I felt the moment it happened. A pulse of pressure, like the air around me collapsed in for a second. Then, stillness and silence. The wormhole didn't collapse. It simply stopped responding. We weren't supposed to go back, but I did. I pulled every string I could, swapped shifts, forged field documents. I wasn't going to let Leah vanish without knowing what swallowed her. The second crew, what remained of it, was composed of volunteers who were either desperate or disgraced. No one in their right mind would dip a toe back into that hole. It took us 4 months to get there. When we arrived, the wormhole was still there, rotating like a serpent gnawing its own tail, suspended in silence. We launched the drone first. It survived exactly 6.7 seconds inside, before the feed cut. That night, I dreamed of Leah. She was outside the ship, floating in slow motion, smiling at me through black, pupil-less eyes. Behind her, the wormhole pulsed like a beating heart. The next day, I volunteered to go in. Crossing the event horizon felt like falling asleep inside out. The inside of the wormhole was nothing like the simulations. The walls were not walls. They shimmered like moving oil, yet offered resistance when the shuttle scraped past. The path curved without warning. Time seemed to stretch. I watched my own movements repeat in echoes across mirrored surfaces, delayed, twisted, and wrong. My own face stared back at me at unnatural angles, mouth moving in silent screams I wasn't making. We lost communications 38 seconds in. There was no light source, but everything was visible, not illuminated, just there, colorless, like a memory half forgotten. Shapes passed us by, long tendrils that recoiled from our presence, echoes of sound that didn't belong to anyone on board. Then we saw the beacon. It was floating, just spinning slowly in the void. The original crew's black box blinking red, but it wasn't where it should have been. According to its signal, it had drifted over 2,000 kilometers from the origin point. We maneuvered closer. It took us hours to retrieve it. When we powered it up, it began transmitting a time code. That was when everything started unraveling. The timestamp wasn't from our universe. The black box contained footage from inside the ship. Not from the original mission, but from Echo-7. Scenes that hadn't happened yet. One showed me, standing in the cockpit, screaming into an empty room. Another showed our pilot, Dr. Hesse, vomiting black liquid while the lights blinked unnaturally overhead. Then a clip of us, bodies slumped over consoles, mummified, as if we'd been dead for decades. None of us spoke for hours after reviewing it. We should have turned back then. We didn't. Hesse insisted we were caught in a time dilation field, that we'd simply recorded possible futures. He was resolute in logic. He didn't see what I saw, that none of the footage showed us leaving the wormhole. By the third day inside, we stopped sleeping. The darkness outside the ship wasn't empty. It pressed against the windows, like it was watching, whispering in vibrations too low to hear, but deep enough to feel in the bones. Then the others started changing. Commander Patel began hearing voices through the comms, claiming to be her wife, calling for help from outside. But it was the same clipped phrase over and over again. "I'm still in here. Let me out." She locked herself in the engine bay. We found her curled in a corner, whispering her own name backwards. Hesse was next. He tore apart the navigation console, convinced the ship was looping through the same corridor over and over again. He screamed at the walls, said they were breathing. Only I remained unaffected. Or, rather, unaffected in ways I could articulate, but I knew something was wrong with me too. I began seeing Leah, not in dreams, awake, standing by the viewing port, hair floating gently in zero gravity, eyes wide and empty. She never spoke, but she was always there, always just behind the glass. I made the decision to leave. I didn't care about the mission anymore. I only wanted to survive, bring back whatever data I could, and let the others decide what to believe. I initiated the return sequence manually. The ship groaned, metal twisting in impossible directions. The wormhole didn't want to let us go. As we accelerated, I saw the space around us stretch like skin. The corridor of the wormhole folded inward. From the corner of my eye, I caught glimpses, things that wore human skin wrong, that moved in jerks and clicks, watching us from within the folds of space. A single voice emerged over the speakers, distorted but clear. "You weren't supposed to leave." The ship shook. Lights died. The last thing I saw before blacking out was Leah's face, pressed against the inside of the glass, as if she was on the other side now, trying to get in. I woke up drifting just beyond Saturn's outer rings, alone. The rest of the crew was gone. No bodies, no signs of forced entry, just empty clothes suspended in air, still shaped like the people who had worn them. The ship's log recorded a re-entry time of 3 minutes, but I'd been gone for 91 days. They didn't believe me when I returned. The footage was corrupted. Black box wiped. Only fragments of malfunctions remained. Enough for them to write it off as psychological collapse due to isolation. But they didn't see the look on my face in the final clip. They didn't see that I was staring past the camera at something still inside the ship. I left the program 2 weeks after debriefing. I still see her sometimes, in reflections, in dreams that aren't mine, in the silence between heartbeats. They say the wormhole collapsed days after I returned, but I know that's not true. It didn't collapse. It just closed its eyes.